So love that. I am going to toss it over to Jeremy. We are so excited to have Jeremy talk about Aware Beta and just our new navigation with Aware. I got to tell you, I've been to a couple of districts in the past week. I've been to about 3 or 4, and I'm sure to stop and show Aware Beta. And an exciting story on my behalf is I started to tell teachers about change that was coming, and you probably know what their face started to look like. I started to see a lot of frown faces. And then when I walked through and show them Beta, I had 2 standing ovations at 2 different districts where teachers stood up and clapped because they were so excited about Aware Beta. So we want to give you a quick commercial and make sure you're not missing out on that opportunity. Hey, to get a standing ovation, right? That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, and no pressure. Hopefully, I get a standing ovation here, perhaps in the form of emojis or something in the chat, so we can have similar experiences. So, yeah, like Emily said, Aware Beta is coming. It's a thing, and Aware Beta is going to be the new experience that users are going to have as soon as we finish completing all of the connections from Aware Classic into Aware Beta. And as we were starting to build Aware Beta, we really had one main mission, and that was to enhance the user experience by streamlining and simplifying how you access all of your things. So I'm going to show you a very explicit kind of example here in just a minute about how Aware Beta can really save you time. I know a lot of people potentially haven't even tried to look at beta yet, just because who has the time to explore something like that with the school year kind of being like it is, or with everything that I have to do on my to-do list. And so I want to show and highlight some of the ways that beta could potentially help you out. And then just a couple other notes on this slide. We're going to continue to develop and add things to Aware Beta throughout the school year. So you'll notice on my little preview here, I've got a screen grab of the Aware Beta navigation, and some of the things are still marked with coming soon, while others are not marked with coming soon. And so we're continuing to make all those connections throughout the school year. We anticipate to have all of our connections complete by summer 23. We're actually aiming to get them finished before summer 23. And so Aware Classic will be going away this coming summer. And so now's a good time for you to dive in and start exploring and start getting used to the new way that things are being used and the new ways that you can access material and content in Aware. So let's start by looking at some of the component pieces. The first piece I want to highlight is the overview. The overview is your landing page. And when you click on Aware Beta, you're going to basically have a new set of opportunities. And I'm going to go over to a live demo site here. And so when I go, let's say we started here in Aware Classic, this should be very familiar to all of us. Right here at the very tippy top, we've got this Try Aware Beta button. You may have seen that highlighted recently when you logged in. If you haven't clicked it yet, I highly encourage you to go ahead and click it, and it loads the new interface. And right off the bat, within your overview, you have, we're calling these cards. You have an analysis card and an assessment card, where it's actually populating the 5 most recent tests that were completed and the 5 most recent assessments that you actually went in and actively edited. For a time saver, this is huge because the 5 most recently assessed test items, you can just click that and go straight to the analysis and get started. Additionally, with the assessment, you can actually create a new assessment from the fly just by clicking new assessment and going straight to which type of assessment you want to create without having to go into author off to the side and do a few extra clicks. So let's demo this just for a second. Let's say I wanted to look at STA Science Demo. If I'm back in Classic, to get to STA Science Demo, I have to make, and y'all can count with me, of course, your mics aren't on, so I can't hear you count, but I have to click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I went to the wrong content science. 5, 6, 7 times in order to get that data view. Whereas if I go back to beta, as long as that test was completed just recently, that STA demo is right there. 1 click, exact same data. There it is, ready to go. That saves you quite a bit of time, where it feels like I'm fumbling with my keys in a scary movie, you know, going through all those clicking trees. Another thing that we can highlight is if
I'm gonna clap for you though real quick. Woo!
Not fumbling for my keys with the axe murderer behind me. If I want to go and access an assessment, similarly, and this is for a teacher, not even for an admin. Admin would have a few extra clicks. I have to go to My Teacher Test, I'm going to go to a pending assessment. So that's 2, 6th grade 7, math 8. And then I'm going to look at this test. Sorry, miscounted my clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. And then here's the assessment I want to play with. But if I edited that assessment recently back in beta, it's in my overview right there. That's the test I just edited. 1 click, boom, there it is. I can access it right away. I don't have to go through the trees. I don't have to click a million things to get back to what I was just recently working on. But let's say it's not on the cards. How do I get to some of those other things if they're not on the overview cards? Well, let's start with data views. I've got an active GIF in the slideshow here, but data views has a new way of interacting with a data table rather than with all the click down trees. And you can usually find what you're looking for far faster than you could have with the click downs. And so if I'm looking at, again, let's go to data views. If I'm looking for the STI Science demo, it does happen to be right here, but I can do a years click down right off the bat instead of having to click down a couple of different times to get to years. And if I'm looking for this year, hit apply, boom, I'm only limited to the tests for this year. And then if I want to limit it to a specific grade level, 8th grade, boom, there it is. And I'm already starting to really narrow it down. And it's a lot simpler to use these filters up here at the top and then boom, hit my test or hit my analysis scores. And then usually you don't get an option. You load student scores right off the bat, and then you have to change your QuakeView template. You get the option of choosing your template before you load, and I hit continue, and bam, there's my data that I'm looking for. So again, it's saving time, it's saving clicks, it's making life just a little bit easier. Okay, so there's data views. Oh, I forgot to highlight too. If I go back to data views, if I know what I'm looking for, I can just filter it by title. This you can do in Classic, but boom, type in some things, load it. There's my data.
Yeah, Jeremy, I often joke with teachers now when I show them, I say, you don't have to remember the name of your test. Can you believe it? It's going to be the most recent one there. And they're like, what? I don't have to remember my multiple long name of my assessment. You don't have to remember it anymore. It'll be right there.
And if you're a district, like a lot of districts we work with do, you have naming conventions and you include a whole lot of things in your title that make it sometimes difficult to fish through the name of your assessment. And so, yeah, just like Emily said, that's going to make that access quite a bit more efficient. Now, one more thing to highlight, the data views table, if you click up here in this clicking tree, this tree right here at the top will take you right back to where you were, and it saves the things you were filtering and looking for. And so if I had a year set and I had a subject and grade level set, it holds on to that. And so I know I need to look at these 3. So I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to load it. But then if I go back, those 3 are still right there. And those filters will not go away until you either reset or leave the page and come back to the page or refresh the page. So that's a handy little thing as well. If you are a district or teacher user, right here at the top, you can configure your data view and right off the bat, click a particular class period or click a monitor list and view this data by a saved monitor list or all of my students. That looks a little bit different for admin, and all those admin drop downs will be held up there as well. All right, let's keep going. Let's say I want to access an assessment. The assessment table was very similar to the data view table. You go click on author on the left-hand side, and then you can create a new assessment with a couple of clicks. You can proctor an assessment either as a teacher, as an admin, or you can find a test with easy to use filters. And so to show you that, I'll start with administer. As a teacher, you used to click up here in Classic, you had that button up the top, test available. Now I go to administer, boom, it just loads that right away. I can find the test I need, turn it on for online proctoring, go to online proctoring, it works just like usual. District admin, it looks a little bit different when you go to administer. If you have access to multiple campuses, you'll filter to a campus, then find the teacher you need, and then it'll load this user interface so you can proctor the assessment for the teacher if they're absent or something along those lines. And then if I want to author, this table is pretty similar to the data view table, but I can access all of my standard assessments, my rubric assessments. Coming relatively soon, we're going to have student inventories loaded right next to the rubric as well. And so I can use my filters, boom, apply, go access any test I need based on the filters or by a search. And then there's the test. I can go ahead and start manipulating that test. If And I want to point this out because this has been a question we get from time to time. For optimization's sake, we find that users don't often go into author a test to pull a old test. Only if they're ever copying an old test do they really look at an archive test. We do not load archive tests by default. And so if you want an archive test to appear in this table, just go to the status, click archived, hit apply, and they'll appear. I don't happen to have any archive tests that match this year, and so I would have to clear that, but that would load and give me my archive tests there. All right, next up, student forms. We just made the connection for student forms, and I'm going to go to a different user here. Student forms, you have to have the right in order to access student forms, but if I go to student forms, the click down trees are gone, and I can start by either choosing a district or school form at the top, and then I can filter by categories, or I can just go ahead and type the name of the form that I'm looking for. Subforms are really clear and obvious now, whereas before it wasn't as obvious which ones were main forms and which ones were subforms. So now they're all right here, and then I can click the form and I load the user interface that we're used to dealing with. And of course, this always happens when you're demoing. There it goes. And I can go check the log and see, you know, all the activity on those forms. And again, you go back, click forms at the top, you can go back to your search and keep going from there. And all of the forms load right off the bat without having to do any of the drop downs, but you can filter, search, do whatever you need to access the forms there.